I've been having serious problems trying to mold this part. Well, this part. It's the front of a speaker that is round. This middle will be cut out, and this flange is where the speaker driver bolts in. And this little ridge around here is a very abrupt part. I mean, it's not a good candidate for fiberglass molding. See, the problem is pieces like this stick in the mold. They're down in the bottom of a well, you know, a very narrow well that has a lot of surface area, a lot of grip. So when I demold the part, pull pieces out, and then they're left stuck in the mold, and I have to grind them out and then repair the mold. And even if I do get a few good parts out of it, I'm spending a lot of time fixing the mold and making unusable parts. So there has to be a better way. And I don't know, I tried making new molds the same. I thought this might help because, you know, it still has that narrow feature, but it's not down in the bottom of another big well. And none of this, no matter what I did, seemed to work very well. So I'm going to have to come up with some other way of doing this. I'm measuring this front half of the speaker sphere because I'm not going to use it. The back half is a plain hemisphere, and that's been molding beautifully. So what I'm doing is I'm making a special fixture to let me cut the front off of the just plain hemisphere at the same level here. There's a little flaw in the original piece there, and the hole is a little close to the edge there. So I'm using this drill press to straighten up the hole, and these side pieces for the box are the size that I measured when I measured the height of the other half of the speaker. This is going to determine how high up on the hemisphere it gets cut off at. So the first thing I'm doing is situating the hemisphere where it has to be in the bottom of the box. And then I'm going to immobilize it with tape. And once it's all taped down, then I can put the lid back on right where it was and screw it down. And with the lid screwed on, then I can cut the top off of the hemisphere. And this is the 2-part silicone mold making stuff that I got. And after the mold is cured, I'm putting fiberglass in it and then some chopped strand mat on the back. This part, the fiberglass, was supposed to make a holder for the silicone to prevent it from like distorting when I actually was working on casting in it. And that part really didn't work out so good. But this is the first silicone mold. And it looks just like the part, and it's separated really easily. So I'm pouring some resin with milled fibers in it, and then following that up with resin with some 1/4-inch chopped fibers and this chopped strand mat at the back. And all this fiberglass is supposed to make a holder for the mold. And yeah, wax paper doesn't really work as good as peel ply, even if you want to think that. So this is the problem, is the silicone mold is a little rough in shape on the outside, and fitting it exactly in that holder for it doesn't work out. If it doesn't align exactly, then the holder's distorting it. But this is the first part out of the mold. And it demolded beautifully. It has that little ridge that I need. I'm going to sand it down into a circular shape and then add it to that hemisphere that I cut the top off of. So I go slow and then I check it a few times to see where exactly it needs to have stuff sanded off and where it's already good. And a little bit of sanding and it should be just right to fit in there. There, you see? A perfect fit. So this is the new way to make this part, in 2 pieces, and it goes a lot easier this way. At this point, I'm wondering if I could make this whole thing in another bigger silicone mold as 1 piece instead of 2.